There is a lot of noise in our day-to-day life that we encounter. Noise with social media, noise with content in general, noise with relationships, and so much more. Today we're talking about what we can do to deal with that noise that can steal our joy. Tune in.
Carol, guess what?
What?
We're talking about noise today. And what noise blocks our joy.
Yes, I love that. I can't wait to talk about this. There's so many things.
There is a lot to talk about. I had a whole list of things.
I think we should talk about what noise is. What is the definition of noise? Noise is something in your life within your control that is blocking your joy. What's your noise in your day-to-day? That's what we're talking about today. Not necessarily life events, which is a whole different conversation. It's kind of like we walk around and God gives us this joy, right, when we focus on Him. But there's so many times where things in our world or in our day-to-day, in our life, in our schedule, they can steal our joy. Mm-hmm. And it's that noise. One example I always think of is, yes, social media, network posts that grab your attention, and then all of a sudden you're down in the mire of, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes in, you go to look for something, and all of a sudden you're there, and something, whether it's a great story and you're like comparing it to yourself and, oh, I don't have that, or it's oh my gosh, look at that. That is so cute. And oh, we were supposed to do that too. It could be so many things, or it could be a really bummer of a post, something really bad in the world that's happened. That can really be a joy stealer. So that noise of social media can influence our joy in our life.
I agree. I often will spend the last hour or so at night on Instagram. And I thought about hours in a day. Everyone has 24 hours in a day, of which the last hour of that, so one whole hour of my 24 hours is on Instagram. When I started thinking about that today, I was like, ooh, I really need to not do that anymore. Or just have a turn off point, because sometimes when you get looking at reels, you look at the clock, you're like, oh my word, I've been doing this for 20 minutes. It just went by so quick. So I was convicted that I spend too much time. What could I be doing? I could be sleeping. That would be good.
Yes.
Instead of on my phone. I could also be just meditating on scripture. So I was super convicted by this, and there will be some changes in my life happening.
Nice.
And as you were talking about different noises, I just have to tell you, my dog is whining at my door. It's hilarious. We were just talking about noise. And
oh my gosh, that is.
And I hear this little. It made me laugh so much, so I just had to put that in there because that was so funny.
That is hilarious. Well, and for me, social media, similar to you, it can grab my attention, and then I have to tell myself, okay, you need to just stop. Remember why you originally came out here? And, oh yeah, I was looking for that one event and I didn't even look it up. So that can be one of the things. The news, TV shows, things like that, they can really take away from your joy too. I think about some of the ways we can, in this day and age, we can stream shows and we can binge watch them. Honestly, you can be 3 hours in and you're like, I'm really tired. Why am I so tired? Well, you've been watching TV for 3 hours. And those shows that might be a little graphic or something that is not a joy bringer. Maybe it's, I don't know, I think of one of those that are
like NCIS.
Yes, exactly. And those can be kind of draining on a person. And everybody's different. It can have a different effect on different people. But I think the main thing is how much time and the quality of the show can really bring you down. It can be a joy stealer.
And I also think there's so much content to watch or to listen to. Think of podcasts. I have a whole list of podcasts. There's TV networks, Hulu and Disney Plus and all these things that you can get hooked into and join. And, oh, I have to spend this time to watch all this stuff. And then I recently downloaded a app for my library so I can audio listen to books. Well, that sucked my time. Now I'm not listening to podcasts, but I'm listening to my books on audio. I was making like a tally of all the things that could take joy from our lives that are noisy. And so things like TikTok, Facebook, Pinterest, Instagram, streaming networks, I just put them all in one. Music, radio, commercials. Think of all the commercials. When you go to the gas station, what do they put in front of you? Still. When you're in the grocery store, if you're walking down the aisle, you'll hear something like, bling, you should eat this food. It is on sale this week. And it's like this little pop-up screen. And you're like, can I just get away from this noise? And commercials.
No.
Commercials are terrible. That is one of my biggest pet peeves. I don't like commercials. A while ago, my pastor was talking about noise in one of his sermons, and he talked about just during commercials, turn the mute on. So you're not getting all that outside, all the stuff that's nonsense, the noise. So that's a tip for people if you don't already do this. When you're watching something with commercials, just mute it.
I am one of those, Bethany, that does mute the commercials because I do not want to listen to them. Mm-hmm. So I am totally in agreement with that one. That is a really good one. Also, to social networks, for me, it's intentional. I need to intentionally tell myself, I am not going to stay out there for a long time. I'm going to go and look for this thing because, as you were saying, when I was prepping for this podcast episode, I was thinking, I do that. I still do that. Like, I get dragged into a different direction. That's one of my goals.
Don't you think that's like their point? Like, that's what they do? That's what their job is, to draw you in?
Yeah, I'm just saying what I do is to address that, is to not go down a rabbit hole and intentionally remember why I'm going out there. Intentionality is one of the things that I think is important to remember when you're going out to social media. That's my takeaway from kind of analyzing this.
Being conscious of what you're doing instead of mindlessly doing stuff. Go to a post office, go to a place where you're waiting in line. Look at the people. Most people, if they're waiting in a line, are on their phone. I go on my phone. See. When you're waiting in line and you're looking at your phone, guess what? You're tuning everybody out. Mm-hmm. So it's still a screen between you and other people, even though you are in person. So basically, nobody's going to approach you because guess what? You're on your phone. So what I try to do is just notice people when I'm in a line and being intentional, like what you were saying.
Yes, I love that. I appreciate what you just said very much. And I think in the realm of joy is, let's just say, phones can be joy stealers to those around you when you're on your phone because you just explained it. They're trying to maybe get your attention on something as you're checking out and they can't. Your nose is in your phone.
Yep.
So yeah, I totally see that can be a joy stealer for those around you and really for you too, because you're missing out on human interaction as well, because we all know we need each other too. Let's talk about that person that has foul language that you have to work next to, or maybe it's the music that's played at your work, or you're stuck in a place where you have to deal with that day in and day out. Maybe a difficult customer. I think of an inconsiderate neighbor, just a negative person in general in your circle of people that can wear on you. Those kind of things can really steal your joy. Those can be noisy. And as followers of Christ, you're to love your neighbor as yourself. I want to get this scripture verse because I love this. It's rejoice in hope, be patient in tribulation. And tribulation can look like what we're talking about right now.
Yeah.
Be constant in prayer. Having that patience in those situations and maybe flip it. Okay, what is the good side of this? I don't have to be listening to this music forever. I can put earbuds in. Okay. This person, I'm going to have to just step away for 5 minutes and go to the restroom. Like make an excuse and just, I'll be right back, or whatever that looks like. There's things that you can do. If you have a difficult customer, kill them with kindness. I remember that when I was out in the corporate world and you go to a lot of workshops and things, and that was one thing that really stood out to me and I used, and it went really well, is you just kill them with kindness when they're really starting to ramp up on an issue or getting upset or something. I am so sorry that that's happening to you. Sincerely.
Yeah.
And helping them through it. And that is also a way that is really giving of ourselves, which really internally, studies have shown that it actually helps you yourself too. It's really a win-win when it's a win for you and a win for the other person.
So the other thought of that is sometimes people, when they start ramping up, they just want to be heard.
Mm-hmm.
Someone was saying to me, you have really great customer service. And I thought, it's because I listen to people. Because if you think about it, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth. So we should listen twice as hard as we talk. Because of that, you can de-escalate a lot of situations by just listening and asking people, tell me how you feel. And sometimes you don't have an answer. And a lot of times when I was doing customer service, I didn't have an answer. But I would say, I don't have an answer for you. And that is really frustrating. And acknowledging their frustration or however they were feeling and saying, I will get back to you. I will find an answer. And then going and looking. I mean, so just knowing that they were heard is sometimes all they need.
And that's an important point too, is what I just heard, because we're human, our human nature is we can only handle so much, and we need to give ourselves grace. We need to give ourselves that moment of, okay, I need to just take a break from this. I need to just walk away, or I need to, it's okay to do that. Just be okay with that.
Yeah.
And because we can only take so much.
It's true. I could go down a rabbit trail on this. I'm not going to.
Okay, let's talk about this one. I'll come home and I need to do something and I know what I need to do, but all of a sudden this shiny stuff like, oh yeah, I got to put that. Oh, that'll just take a second. I'll put those things in the dishwasher. Oh, that's right. I got to go do that. Yeah. And then, oh, I got to do this. I got to do that. And all of a sudden I'm like, I only have like half an hour left to do what I really need to have done. And I'm like, this is not good. What happened there? I have to stop looking around that busy stuff, and I can't do that, the laundry, or whatever it looks like for you. But for me, that can be as little as that thing can steal my joy, because I'm like, I am supposed to be somewhere in an hour, and now I have this much time left to do this, and it can like wear on me. And that might not be for everybody, but shiny stuff can really get in the way.
So what you're saying is have-tos can be noisy things in your life. I have to do this. I have to do that. Yeah. Oh, this is calling my name. I should, like you said, load the dishwasher. That'll take me 5 minutes. But it'll take you 5 minutes away from you getting ready and being on time to your meeting or church or whatever. Fill in the blank. I'm guilty as charged.
Right. So it could be, again, that intentionality of, okay, what do I have to do? So it's a mindset in some ways to focus on what's the important thing to do. And it can look different for everybody because it depends on the people in your life, the volunteering you have, your schedule. Maybe you are part of a lot of activities at your kid's school. Maybe you've got a lot of things with the church that you volunteer for. All those things can all of a sudden add up, and they can be, if you're doing a lot of stuff, which I've been there in my life, I took on way too much. My day-to-day was so full that it was stealing my joy.
And those can be good things too, right? I mean, they can be volunteering positions, or they can be good things that you fill your time with, but that doesn't mean they should be things you should be doing.
I'm not saying that those things are not great in themselves.
Yes.
But many times and I've heard this from others as well as myself, you can take on, as well as my own experience, you can take on all these things and all of a sudden you're like, well, it's kind of that person who doesn't know how to say no. That's a whole nother, reality with some people. But when you do take on all those things, all of a sudden you are tired. You're not giving your best because it's, ultimately stealing your joy, and you can't do it all.
So the people that are important, family, get squashed or get your leftovers instead of the best of you.
Right. And some of the things you can do with that is, okay, I need to just reevaluate what I'm all doing and what's number one, what's number two, what's number three, and what can I maybe shift or maybe do every other month, or, work out some kind of thing that isn't taking away so much of your joy to the point of, okay, this is counterproductive now, because yes, I'm helping them, but I'm totally drained. I'm not getting enough sleep. I'm, whatever it looks like for you. And then the people around you are not benefiting from it either. Thoughts on that?
Wholeheartedly agree. No, I'm as much at fault for overcommitting myself. I have done that. I kind of have a little bit of FOMO, fear of missing out.
Fear of missing out, yes.
I have that I even had that this week. You had to talk me off the ledge this week.
What? Oh, wait.
Monday. Because I was like, I want to do I just wanted to do it all because it was so fun, and I like fun things. So for me, it's like, let's do the fun things, and sometimes I need to be more brought down to reality. Like, Bethany, you need to do your priorities and then the fun. But as an adult, sometimes we can put our fun ahead of the things we should be doing. I don't know, because we're adults. Like, you can eat dessert first, but that's probably not a great idea, if you only eat dessert first and you don't eat good vegetables. Yeah, that's not a good thought. So
maybe not every day.
Yeah.
Maybe not every day.
So it's just a moderation thing.
Yes. An important thing that we're saying but not saying out loud is prayer. Ask God, what is most important? Which one should I do? What should I cut out, if anything? How can I do this?
But you were a Christian sister that poured into my life, that showed me, that kind of shined the light into my life and going, okay, Bethany, well, and you were not harsh or anything. You just kind of said, well, what about this? What about this? What about this? And I was like, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. So then I was able to get perspective again and my head was in the clouds. You brought me down to earth and said, maybe you should think through these things. And I'm like, oh yeah, probably should. And it was a really good decision that I did that, because I felt better about my decisions. I felt more accomplished. There was a whole myriad of things that happened as a result of me stepping back and looking and kind of clearing the noise, the FOMO noise, because we all have the FOMO noise.
Well, what is so important, again, what I'm hearing is that intentionality, that time to clear away the noise, to be still and really hear from God on what is important. So it's the opposite of noise. That's not meant to be funny, but it kind of is. Like, we're talking about noise today, and that's how you can gain clarity, is get away from the noise, take a break from all of it, and just have that quality time with you and God and say, okay, what's happening here? Step back. What's important? I think that's a really big, important thing to do.
So what does your quiet time with God, or quiet time, I don't want to say quiet time as in like your devotional time, but what does being still look like to you? I think about Psalm 37. It says, be still and know that I am God. Wait patiently for him. Do not fret when people succeed in their ways, when they carry out their wicked schemes. And I just think, how do we be still? How are you still before God? Do you have a plan?
I actually, for me, being still is that, not doing anything, like being still. I have a big picture of this beautiful tree, and it's got be still and know that I am God on it with the psalm. And I sit on my couch where I can see that, and I just sit there and be still. And I don't do it enough. I'll tell you that. But I do go for walks sometimes. And that's when, even though I'm moving, it's a time for me to be still. Nature is a big deal for me to connect with God. I do a lot of outdoor activities and things. And that is another way that I have my time with him. When I have some kind of need for clarity, I'm a journaler, so I put down like a question in my journal and then I wait for an answer. And waiting means I could wait a little bit right then, don't hear anything, then I go on with my day and I wait for that answer. And that answer may not come right away, may not come at all, may not be the right time for me to get an answer. I mean, that could be his answer is nope. Or not yet.
So you're a journaler in the morning?
It varies. Yeah, it varies.
Okay.
Many times I do at night, not in the morning.
Well, that's interesting. I am not a journaler. I struggle with journaling. My cousin read my high school journal, and she said, Bethany, you should just stop writing because you're really boring.
Oh, that's funny. I don't think it was for her to see.
No, we were close. I just thought it was hilarious. She's just like, and she.
Oh, you showed it to her.
Yeah, and she read it because I said, well, I've been writing in a journal, and they were really boring. Carol, every day I had like the weather report. It was so boring, and I would say things like, "Oh, my mood today." Like I was like a weather report for my mood.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. Well, and journaling is kind of a different thing for everybody. For me, I started out journaling every day. And it was a phase of my life where I was trying to get close to God, and I was just trying to really intentionally do that. And then another phase of my life, I was just putting down when I had something that was significant to me that I wanted to put down. And it was either something maybe I experienced or God put in front of me, or I heard something that really spoke to me on the radio, or whatever it was that I was going through in that phase of my life. And then the important thing with journaling for me is I've learned that you need to go back and look at what you put, especially if it's maybe not the mundane that you're talking about, but like significant things like events and things where he's talked to you. And then all of a sudden you see like these connections. Oh, he answered that. Yeah. He answered that prayer that you asked a while back. I do like journaling. I think it's very rewarding and another way to connect with him.
I guess I don't necessarily have a journal that I write in, but I have journaled thoughts on my computer in chunks. I wouldn't say I would do it every day, but every couple months I will write out kind of what happened in a consolidated couple pages of just what God has been doing in my life. So I guess that's like the new form of my journaling, just because I think I don't always know what to say every day, but God does work in your life over a period of time. I was just actually thinking this week I should sit down and do some journaling because some stuff has been going on spiritually in my life. Good stuff.
Well, and then in the realm of noise, what a great way to, I call it a brain dump. We've talked about brain dumps before. That's another way to get all that stuff down. You know, just brain dumping it and going, wow, a lot happened to me today or this week or whatever. And then getting it out there and talking to God about it. What was that all about? Like sometimes it can bring revelation. Oh, that's connected to that. Even doing that it can be a really cool exercise where you gain clarity and understanding, or it's just a way to dump it all out. And there's a relief, or I want to say a release, when you do that.
I didn't think about that because there's been times in my past where I have been under a lot of stress, and I will go to the same people and just basically dump on them every day. And I think, wow, I liked what you said about writing a question for God and asking him to answer it. That is I'm tucking that one away. That one I'm going to apply. I like it.
Yeah.
Because there's times when I do have questions for God, and you know what? Sometimes he's already answered them and I just don't realize it. It will take me a week or so to figure out like, oh, you did answer that prayer. But in my pea-sized brain, I don't connect the dots. But if I wrote something down occasionally, more than maybe every day, but maybe once a week, just said, hey, God, I have a question about this. I'm going to start doing that. Yeah, I like that, Carol.
I want to hear back on that one.
Okay. I'll follow up in a month or so.
Yeah.
Because I do have some questions about my future. There's some big ones. And I'm like, I've been kind of telling him verbally about them, but I think I need to write them down and see if he gives me any word as I'm doing this.
Well, right. And if you don't, then it can just like ruminate in your brain, right? I've had that happen where I've got this thing, and if I don't talk to him about it, it just sits there. It's like an old song going around and around and around. And you can just talk to him about it out loud on a walk if you don't want to do it when someone's around. But you could do it that way. You could journal it. I've done both things.
I'm a verbal processor, so a lot of times I will talk out my thoughts. And I'm really talking to God. I don't sort of, dear Lord, here's my thoughts. It's just more of a, oh, by the way, I know you're listening to me. Let's talk this through.
Yeah, like a conversation. Yeah, and he wants to hear from us. We're here because he wanted a relationship.
And I think that you become more intimate with God in those places in that time because you are treating him like a person. He's not just someone up in the sky that you go to church and you sing to him. He has to become a personal person, a personal friend of yours. And friendship is when you spend time and talk together. Like Carol, you and I would not be doing this if we hadn't spent time talking and getting to know one another. That's what relationships are. You spend time. So if you're expecting God in your relationship to be awesome and amazing, but you don't spend any time with him, yeah, that's not going to happen. You don't talk to him?
Right.
It's not going to happen.
Right. I do want to mention something that's back to what we were talking about, like when we have this noise in our life, whether it's social media or, I don't know, people in your life. I was thinking about it. I thought, can the noise be flipped to become a catalyst for joy?
That's good.
And I came up with having boundaries around like social media, like we were talking earlier, but only use it for certain things. Get rid of the extra groups that are causing you some stress or noise or anxious thoughts, whatever. Maybe it had its time, but you don't need it anymore. Get rid of it. Or decide that you're only going to post joyful things and no controversial or no negative things. Intentionality again in that area. And then I think about the stuff we haven't talked about yet. What can steal your joy? Well, those chores at home maybe you don't want to do, or those chores that you have to do in life. I like to think, and I figured this out a while ago, you flip that and it becomes joyful because, okay, I've got to chop up all these vegetables for this soup. There's like, whatever, say there's 5 vegetables and you're just sitting there like, oh my God. And everybody's all about time, right? No, I am going to thank God for these vegetables because I've got vegetables.
Yeah.
Like that's my flip. And thanks for this knife I have to use. And those kind of things are little, but your brain could be going in a whole nother direction. I have to do this again. Nobody's helping me. And I've got to do it. And it could just go south in a big way. It could be anything. It could be anything. Laundry, because it's not my favorite thing. But guess what? I have clothes that I can wear. You know what I mean? Like, it could be that. It could be anything.
I hear you.
Thankfulness.
I totally hear you.
Yes.
And I think that's the positivity that your strength, because that's what I would look at too. So here's what I think of when I think of a mundane task. I'm like, okay, what podcast am I going to listen to? Or what book am I going to read, listen to while I'm doing it? Or sometimes when in the evening, if I have something that, is sort of, I don't know. I'm not a huge spreadsheet person. I don't like spreadsheets. So I will listen to something while I'm working on spreadsheets. If you can. I mean, sometimes people can't multitask with that. But sometimes it's just putting some fun music on to get you through it.
Yes.
Because
love that one.
Yes, there are mundane things. So flipping, I love how you're talking about flipping that around and making a joy thing.
Yeah, a joy bringer rather than a stealer.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's super important. And I want to just say what God says. Proverbs 15:13, a glad heart makes a cheerful face, but by sorrow of heart the spirit is crushed. And I think that kind of falls in line with what we're talking about here. Striving for that joy and growing that joy rather than having this joy stealers.
Oh, I thought of some other ways to be silent and to have some quiet time is driving in silence. Do you drive in silence or do you always put the radio or music on?
I do drive in silence, but not that often. I have moments where I'm like, okay, I could listen to the radio. I could listen to talk radio. I could listen to music. I have my favorite stations. But there are times when I'm like, I just want quiet. Mm-hmm. Because I've been having a lot of noise, mm-hmm. or not noise, but a lot of listening and active brain already that day. So I just want quiet.
So during that time, are you thinking or are you just being still? Like, are you able to turn the brain off? So last night I was driving home from church and I had a longer drive than normal and I was listening to a book and I just turned it off because I just wanted to be alone with my thoughts. And I think it was just I wanted to be alone with God for a little bit and just kind of tell him about my day and what things I was thinking about and processing through. And I appreciate that a lot.
Yes.
That time of just having that quietness and just thinking.
I agree. I'd have to answer. Sometimes it might end up being a conversation with God. Other times it's not. Other times it's just, I'm done. I'm just going to ride along. And then there's other times where it's just, I don't know, thankfulness comes to mind. I'm just so thankful.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like it just hits me in those quiet moments sometimes.
So Carol, because you're positive, do you have people ask you why? Do you have a bad day? Do you have people ever ask you that? Just say, Carol, are you always this happy? Are you always this joyful? Do you ever have bad days? Do you have people ask you that?
I don't get that a lot. I don't know if I just don't run into people who do that, or ask me. I don't know, Bethany. I don't get that a lot, but I'm guessing you do.
Well, I don't a lot. I have had a handful of people. And the only reason I ask about it is last night someone said that to me. Like, are you always this happy? And I had to I say, no, I'm not.
Well, let me tell you, I think it is still, even though positivity is both of our number one strengths, mm-hmm. it's an intentional thing.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's not just a natural, every moment I am going to be positive, because we're human beings and we have those moments of I'm kind of down today or whatever that looks like. So it's an intentional mindset to flip and say, okay, what's going on? I'm that kind of person. Why am I down today? And look for the positive and look for, okay, what's the truth here? What do I have to be grateful for? And what's this all about? I just want to point that out because I just want to encourage people to actually do that. Take that moment and ask yourself, why am I down right now? And maybe how can I flip this? And pray about it.
So I will do like a self-analysis, just like you said. Why am I feeling this way? What happened that I felt this way? And how do I get out of it? I think I might have told this story previously, but when I was in high school, I was getting very inward and very self. And I remember calling up my pastor's wife and saying, can I come over and watch the kids for you? And so you can go for a date night. And she was just like, what? I said, well, I'm just thinking about myself too much. I need to give back. I need to give of myself. I need to not look at myself all the time. And I think knowing that in doing that at a young age, because I was probably like 13, 14 when I started doing this, it has made me go, okay, when I have moments of self-pity, because that's really what it is, self-pity. Oh, woe is me. My life is so terrible. Giving back to somebody or doing something for somebody else is more fulfilling and more rewarding than doing something for myself. Does that make sense?
Oh, that is so rich. Yes. I actually had that on my list too today. And girl, you, I think, were in the minority at 13 where people actually thought about others, because that early teenage years, you're all about yourself, right? We're all about ourselves. So, wow, I think that is so insightful that you were doing that at that age. But there's so much truth to that. I mean, when we give, I found that I go help a neighbor or do whatever, and it's just so uplifting for yourself. It's not just helping them, but you're bringing yourself up too, because you're doing something nice. You're doing something good.
I have a question.
Yeah.
This is going full circle. So if we are on our phones or we're distracted by the noise of life, how do we see those things that he wants us to do? How does he let us know, hey, your neighbor over here needs help, or the lady that's struggling being a stay-at-home mom needs somebody to come in and make a meal for her once a week? Or how are you going to hear that or see that if you're busy with the noise of all this external noise? TikTok, Instagram, Facebook,
all the content,
music, all of the content. How do you see it? How do you hear it?
You don't.
Yep.
You don't. That's my answer.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I agree. That would be my answer
too. Right. And it's so much more fulfilling in the other way. So I love that you brought that up. Yeah. And it says here too, Romans 6:8, for to set the mind on the flesh is death, but to set the mind on the spirit is life and peace. So when we live in the spirit, we are seeing the things that are needing to be done around us, or where God wants us to work, how to help that person, how to smile at somebody who needs a smile. Little things. So important. I just love that you brought that up.
I was going back to Ecclesiastes 3, verse, the end of 13. I guess I could do 13 too. That each of them may eat and drink and find satisfaction in all their toil. This is the gift of God. And in 14 it says, I know that everything God does will endure forever. Nothing can be added to it and nothing taken away from it. God does it so that people will fear him. What God's will for his purpose, if he wants somebody to be helped and he lets you know, but you're too busy listening to the noise of the world, he'll find somebody else to do it. And you'll miss out on that blessing that he had for you, because he'll just find somebody else to bless through his plan, his purpose. I've heard that before in the past, where if I miss an opportunity, I always think, oh man, I missed that opportunity. That was probably the only opportunity. No, God's bigger than that. My missed opportunity is just another person's opportunity. Yeah.
Yeah, I know the plans, plural, I have for you. I just heard that the other day. It's not just one plan. He's got multiple plans for you. So you still get another chance. And I, too, want to bring up, too, we talked about some people or relationships in our life that can be difficult. And it's so easy to maybe turn on them, or the wrong words come out. I like this verse that speaks to that. See that no one repays anyone evil for evil, but always seek to do good to one another and to everyone. It goes on to say, rejoice always, pray without ceasing, give thanks in all circumstances, for this is the will of God in Christ Jesus for you.
That's good.
I just really like that. I think it summarizes this noise episode pretty well.
I think going back to difficult people, because you always have difficult people in your life. You're never not going to have a difficult person in your life. My mom always told me this. If there's someone at work that annoys you, you can quit and then start a new job, and guess what? There'll be a different person with that same annoyance that works at that place. So you can never get away from that person, or that, because I think part of it is God wants us to be able to learn to deal with those types of people. I think some people call them like special grace people that need extra grace to deal with them. And I actually had a situation this week where I was sitting down with someone and they were telling me what was going on in their life, and that they didn't feel like people liked them, and certain people had stopped talking to them, and they were just in a bad situation. And I said, you just have to be you. God created you to be you. So you don't worry about what those other people say or don't say to you, or ignore you or don't ignore you. But I wanted to encourage that person and say, you still need to be you. And if that's you, guess what? Those people, they don't have to like you. I think sometimes we want to be liked by everybody, right, Carol? We want everyone to like us. We want everyone to look at us and go, oh, they're amazing, wonderful people. But there are going to be people in your life that they rub you the wrong way, and vice versa. And that is okay. If no one's told you that, people out there in the sphere, if no one's told you that you're not going to be liked by everyone, I'm sorry to say, not everyone's going to like you. And that's okay. Because there are 1 or 10 people in your whole life that don't like you. But what about the other 200 or 500 people that do like you? Really? I mean, who cares? Really?
Honestly, it just matters to what God thinks of you, and He values every single one of us.
Yes.
So that's what I land on every day. So I love that you brought that up, Bethany. There's a lot of truth there, and way to go talking truth into your friend. I had a thought, but I can't remember it now. Yeah, do you have any other thoughts on this before we jump into the next thing?
Well, I had a funny thing. I used to take a walk, and I used to put my earbuds. I used to put them on, but I wouldn't turn any music on. And I wouldn't turn anything on, and I would just walk around my small town. And part of the reason I did that was if you have your earphones in, a lot of times people don't stop and talk to you, because it was that kind of small town. If you go to the grocery store, you talk to 5 people, or you see half the town in the grocery store. So my pastor saw me one day. He's like, hey, I saw you walking the other day, but your earphones went in, and you probably didn't hear me or see me or whatever. And I said, I probably wasn't listening to anything. And he said, what do you mean? And I said, well, 9 times out of 10, I don't even have anything on, but I just want to be left alone. I want to be in my quiet time with God or in my thoughts. And so I would walk around town, which looked like I was listening to something, but I wasn't. And he laughed. Oh, this is another thought I had. If you are in a family situation, and even if you're not, putting your phones away during a mealtime, having a meal together, turning off TVs, any kind of outside noise. Now, dinner music, I'm all about dinner music, but maybe not words, maybe just instrumental goes a long way. But I think turning off the phone and it being intentional, talking to your kids and talking to your husband or your wife, being in that moment, I think that's part of turning off the noise.
Yes, I'm glad you brought that up. I love that. It's too many times it's too easy to go to your phone. And so having that designated time, whether it's dinner or going for a walk or whatever it looks like in your family, when you have time together, get rid of the phone.
Yeah.
Love it. All right. Let's talk about our joy stories for this week.
Okay.
I have one.
All right, let me hear.
I would say, and this is great, because there's a thing about the dishwasher in our family, and it's usually it's a sticking point, and it's usually strife. Okay.
Good. Thanks for being honest. Appreciate it.
Oh, totally. It's just a thing where I'm like, it's your turn. My son is supposed to do it. So what happened this week is I decided, you know what? I'm going to flip it. I am going to say, hey, let's go do the dishwasher, empty it together. And I did. And he's like, okay. And he's like, well, wait, I got to finish something. I'm like, okay, well, I got to go to church. And he's like, it's okay, I'll do it. And I'm like, wow, that's awesome.
That is
I know.
That's progress, baby.
But guess what? I came back from church and it wasn't done yet. I'm like, come on, let's do it now. Okay. And what happened was we did it. We both did it together, and we had this awesome conversation that would have never happened if I would have just been like, you got to get this done, and I've asked 3 times and I'm done with this, or whatever it looked like. No, we did it together, got a great conversation. I'm like, God, thank you for that peace. So sometimes it takes a step by you to turn it around.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's my joy story for the week. It was awesome.
Well, my joy story is more the joy that I got from what someone said. Now, my top love language is words of affirmation. That's huge for me. Huge. And I don't get a ton of it, but I do get a lot from my new boss, so she's great. But this gal at church, she says to me last night, she says, hey, Bethany, are you always this happy and this bubbly? And you know what? Not a lot of people say that to me, but I've had it, here scattered, like, crumbs throughout my life that they'll say, are you this positive? Are you this happy? But just to hear that made me go, okay, the joy of the Lord is shining through me because she's seeing it and it's evident in my life and how I'm living out my life. And it was a great conversation. It actually, the last time I remember someone saying that to me, I didn't have as good a response. So I felt like I dropped the ball spiritually because the person that had asked me if I'm always this positive was a coworker. And I wanted to say, it's because I have Jesus in my heart. But I thought it was stupid to say that, which it's not. It's not stupid to say that. But that's what my initial it's because I have Jesus in my life and this is the reason why I'm happy and all this. I wanted to say that, but I felt kind of silly saying it. And so I didn't. And I felt bad afterwards because this is what I told him. I said, well, every day, this is an Anne of Green Gables line. Every day is a new day with no mistakes in it. I'm like, what kind of, what is this? What? So dumb. But when I got that last night, I said I was able to share with her why I was so happy and basically just have a thank you God for the way I am. And just, it would just brought around a conversation that probably wouldn't have happened if I had just said, oh yeah, thanks, and I just thank God for that opportunity because I think she's struggling with joy in her life. And so I was able to hopefully give her some hope. And I think her and I are going to get together. And I kind of wanted to talk about this a little bit. So I'm glad we're talking about this story because when someone says, hey, I want to do something, let's get together, let's have coffee. Be intentional about putting it on your calendar immediately because I can guarantee you walk away from that person and you both are going to forget. And then you're going to meet up in 3 months and go, hey, remember we were going to have coffee? We never did. And we should get together again. Yeah, let's do that. Let's have that coffee. And then again, another 3 months go away and you don't get that coffee. And so I want to encourage you, be intentional in those moments when someone says, let's get together. Put it on your calendar before you leave that person. So I did not do that, but I told her, I said, and when we see each other in 2 weeks, because it'll be about 2 or 3 weeks before I see her, I said, I am going to look you up and we're going to put something on the calendar. So
I'm going to ask you about that and make sure that you do that.
Please do. I'm serious. I want to do this because people need to know that you care and it's just important. And God puts people in your life. And I just know God put her in my life for a reason.
Well, and I also want to say on your joy story note that sometimes the Spirit, if you're leaning in, you can hear him say, okay, respond this way, or he'll respond for you, through you. And it sounds to me like you did say it the way that it should have came out because you ended up helping her through the hope that you gave her, right?
Yeah, I did. But again, I think my mind was in a different place and it was just it was a confirmation of thank you God, I'm living out the joy. It's not me. I have often said this to people have said, I just like hanging out with you and I just like being with you. And I said, it is not me, because if you want to hang out with me, you wouldn't be hanging out with me at all. I'm a sinful person. I am crabby sometimes, and which I know a lot of people can't believe. But, you know, there's just like, I'm quirky and I'm like weird. And I'm like, why would anyone want to hang out with me? And then God's like, it's not you. It's me in you. I'm like, oh, that's right. It's not me. So I'll tell people, it is not me. It is God. That's who you want to hang out with. It's not me. I'm just the vessel for God. It's all I am, because I'm nothing without him. So that's my that's my God story today. So be a vessel for his joy and his goodness, because
I love
in
that.
and of ourselves we are not good and we are not joyful.
Yes, I love that. What a great way to end this episode. So, with that being said, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, everybody. Remember to pour
Out
your
joy.
woohoo. All right, we'll see you next time.